Okay, this video is a tutorial basically on the bait release mechanism. If you find that the catch at the back of the boat, in other words, there is a servo. There's a couple of parts to this mechanism. The first part being the servo. Obviously, the servo is activated by the receiver when it receives a signal from the transmitter, or the remote when you push the little spring-loaded bait release button. A signal is sent to the receiver, and that then activates the servo, and the servo then throws the arm. Now, from here, it's got to reach the catch at the back of the boat, which is on the bait tray. Okay, so let me quickly power it up. Okay, so I'll show you that. Obviously, it's when you push that button, just like that, it pushes the bait, it pushes the servo. Now, you're going to notice something. This switch here, which is actually part of the Waypoint marking system, if it's up and I push the bait release, it pushes the servo to about 4 o'clock. When I pull it down, it pushes the servo to just about 5 o'clock. So there's a little bit more push when you pull this lever down than when it's up. That's not what it's used for. It's used as the waypoint marker, in the sense that when you want to mark a waypoint, you'll pull that down, and when you release the bait with that down, it will mark the spot where you drop the bait. So that's what it's actually used for. And when you lift it up and you activate the bait release, it doesn't mark a spot. But just for interest's sake, you'll see that when that's up, it pushes a certain amount, and when it's down, it pushes a little bit further. The reason I'm telling you that is that, let's just say the catch is just about releasing, but it just can't quite release. You might try this. You could basically pull that down, push the bait release, and it'll push a little further than it usually pushes. And when I say pushes, it pushes this arm. Now I've taken the liberty of already removing this cover. So essentially, the plate is loose. And if you look at what's happening on the inside, you'll see when I activate the push button, it's working a mechanism on the inside of the boat. So it's pushing this rod here, and it's pulling this rod here. This pull rod on the other side is connected to the catch at the back. The catch at the back is spring loaded, and depending on the tension on the spring will determine how hard this servo has to work to open the catch. The spring doesn't have to be set very tightly, or it doesn't have to be under great tension, because all that's required is for the catch to lock into this little groove. In other words, this catch locks in the groove. So in essence, the spring that's on this shaft here is pushing this back just enough to keep that in the groove. You can make it very tight, and you may think, wow, it's got to be strong than to tow a big shark or tow a big bait. It doesn't really matter. You can't get this open. Doesn't matter what the tension is here, because it's locked in a little groove. When I open it, it's as simple as that. It just pulls it away and it opens. So back to where we were. We're in the center. So the components I'm talking about is transmitter, receiver, servo, and the little swivel arm. Now, the little swivel arm basically is just a push-pull arm, and it's quite loose on its pivot. It's not tight. What we've done is we've Loctited that screw and allowed it to have plenty of place. So there's nothing binding on this little push, on this little pivot here. What you don't want to have happen is you don't want the servo to have to overcome any amount of friction on that pin, nor do you want it to have to overcome a huge amount of tension on the spring. But most importantly, and this seems to be where we are finding a problem, when the boat's being rinsed down after use, this catch here has got a pivot through the center like that. And what's happening is, although it's stainless steel, that's stainless steel, the pin is stainless steel, but even stainless steel will get surface rust, and surface rust on surface rust will bind this catch. So if this catch is not loose, now I'm going to demonstrate it by simply removing this and showing you how loose that catch has got to be for this to work effectively. So to remove this, you're going to basically use a small vice grip that you can grab the pin with. The reason why you're doing that is because this is Loctited. So on this one here, you'll use a plier to work through the Loctite, and it's not permanent Loctite, so it doesn't have to be heated. You can overcome it with a plier, as long as you've got the spindle held or the shaft held tightly with a vice grip. Once you've overcome it, you can unscrew this. Okay, now you can take it off. I can remove this entire catch. What I can actually show you, that's how floppy it's got to be. I don't have to take it all off to show you. I can just put it to one side. You can see it's completely free. it's not binding in any which way, and that is important. It's got to be like that. If you find that you're having to work hard to move this catch, then you loosen the 2 screws, take this catch out, go and rinse it with some lubricant, with a toothbrush and lubricant, clean it until it's floppy, completely floppy. Let me hold this to one side so you can see what I'm talking about. It's completely floppy. Okay, right. With that like that, now you can feed your shaft back through. The idea being that the only tension on here is what I've created, with the spring. Okay, so in essence, now that we know, we're happy that the catch is completely loose, not binding on that pivot there. Once it's gone back through there, in essence, this little spring and this collar is just forcing the shaft forward to push back on this lever here, which then obviously pushes that against the plate. Okay, so you ask, how tight does it have to be? Well, let me show you. If I loosen it completely, now it's got no tension. Now you can see it's there, but it's really soft. So it's hardly pushing the catch into the groove. You basically want it just to strut the catch, so it pushes the lip of the catch into the groove, and you bring that back to apply some tension. Okay, and then you're going to feel the tension. It mustn't require a lot to overcome the tension of that spring. There we go. Okay, now I have also shown previously that if you look at it from the side, that you don't tighten this nipple against this arm here, against this lever. If you do, it can't move. There's quite a big gap, so that when you push it in like that, you can see that it's clearing the plate very nicely on the catch, and the back part of this nipple is touching the back part of the lever and this little front part on the front there. So it's a gap like that almost, to create that gap, and then not too much tension here. If you find that your servo is struggling to push it, just release it a little bit more. Just make it a little less tension. A little bit, just a half a mil. That make all the difference. There we go. That's exactly how I would set it. Now, let's assume that this catch had been jammed, that it had been seized, so that when the servo, I'm going to put the boat off of this, when the servo worked, basically, as it moved back like that, and as you can see, I'm moving it manually, but I'm working that push-pull arrangement. But if the catch were blocked, which is the same as me holding this shaft like this, then you'll see that look carefully at what's happening to the bar, the push bar. It's not pushing anymore. It can't push, so it just bends. Now, being spring steel, it basically regains its shape. But obviously, if it's a very powerful servo, which is what we do use, it can do this, and it can actually or potentially bend the bar, put a kink in it, and after many uses this way, with that catch at the back seized up, you may find that it's bent this lever or this link arm out of shape. So this video is essentially to show you how to take this link arm off, and what it should look like, and how to put it back on again. Okay, so to get this link arm out, we're going to remove this white block here, the support block. Being careful to put the screws in the position so you know how they go back, because they're different lengths and different thicknesses. So the shorter, slightly thinner one goes on the inside, and the longer, thicker one is on the outside. That's loose. Now, depending on which quick link you have, this is a plastic quick link that unclips. Some have got sliders, but whichever way, basically you take it off there like that. And now it's very simple. You simply loosen this screw on this push-pull arrangement, slide it out, and that's it. It is now free to move out. Okay, it looks just like that, and that is roughly the shape that you want. In essence, when it's pushing from the servo, it's pushing straight back along this plane. Okay, like that. But where the push-pull lever is, it's over there, so we have to have this little kink. We make that at about 120 degrees to give us the strength. Otherwise, if you put it at 90 degrees, it'll easily bend back. So doing it this way, it maintains its shape. This arrangement here, basically two brass couplers, because you don't get a long enough stainless steel rod like that with the corrector on the end. So we simply make our own, but we're happy with it because it gives us some strength at this particular point. So in essence, if your shaft doesn't look something like that, you can bend it until it does. That's how it started life. About 120 degrees here, 120 degrees there, basically ending up in parallel, that plane and that plane with that distance apart. Put it back in again. It's very straightforward. You slide that through, you push it into the little pillar, if I can see it. There we go, through the pillar. Connect that back onto your servo, just like that. Put your block back, and now okay, let's finish it. Okay, so basically I've just put that back in place, thick one on the outside or short one on the inside. Clip that back onto the servo. I've pushed that through the pillar on the little lever arrangement. And now all that I do is I will close this tray just like that, and making certain that this thing is, or that this little lever arrangement is such that that side pillar is pulled up against there, not tight, just leaning against there, catch closed, and then you will use your screwdriver and you will lock this in place. You can use your two hands and hold onto the bottom side of the lever, and then use a screwdriver to tighten it. Don't just push down. Support the arm by putting your fingers underneath the rod, something like that, and then you've got something to work with, and then you can make that nice and tight. Oopsie daisy, don't cut your fingers off like I'm doing. Right, there we go. That's nice and tight. And check it again. Radio on, servo, red boat on. Good. Alright, so without the waypoint marker being on, we can actually see, if you look down there, you'll see that I did that without the boat being and the radio being on. I have now cut myself. So in essence, we've made a mistake that everything, the radio should have been on and the boat should have been on before you lock this in place. So you loosen it, you slide it forward, you want, look there what was happening, it was standing like that, you want that to come back there, and you lock it there. You don't want to waste any of the movement or the throw of the servo. Okay, that's nice and tight. And now we are happy. We will try that. There we go. So if we look at the actual catch, you'll see that it's opening and clearing past the plate. That's all that you're looking for. You must just do that. Must just do that. That's all that's required. I hope this is helpful. One last thing I wanted to mention is, and that is that there is a video which shows how to remove and refit this plate. It's a very particular way that you need to follow. So I haven't covered it in this video, but there is a video showing exactly how to remove this and put the silicone on again and put it back on again. Okay, sorry, there's one thing I forgot to show you, and that is how to put the Loctite. So you're going to put a drop of Loctite onto the threads here. So hopefully this is open. Okay. So that when we check that when we push the button, we must have that gap that I spoke of. There we go. Now you've got the catch opening fully. It's giving you at least 2-3 mils away from the plate when you open that fully. The tighter I make this, watch what happens if I tighten it. I take it all the way to the end. It's got a little movement. It can barely clear the plate. So importantly, let's do it quick before the Loctite sets. You basically want to create a gap so that you've got that good 2 or 3 mils clearance, just like that. There we go. That's what you want. Perfect. Now, when you put this plate back on, it's very important that you put silicone on all the little holes, the 6 holes where you've taken this plate off, that you push silicone in and wipe it away. But you must put a spot of silicone on each one before you put the plate back on. Otherwise, it will leak. Because once you've taken the plate off, you break the bond on the inside. So once you remove it, you must put a little drop of silicone. As I said, it doesn't have to be ugly. You squeeze it in and wipe it off. Squeeze it in, wipe it off. It's just a hair that you need. And then you put the cover back on. I've watched